If you walk across a perfectly manicured American lawn on a summer afternoon, you will likely see the homeowner kneeling in frustration, spraying herbicide on a persistent weed. The target is a grass-like plant with a distinctive triangular stem that seems to laugh at every chemical assault. The label on the spray bottle reads "Nutsedge Killer" in bold letters, and the price tag says $30. Now walk into a Whole Foods or any upscale health food store. There, on a shelf near the organic almonds and goji berries, you will find small bags of wrinkled brown nuggets labeled tiger nuts or Chufa. The price reads $15 per pound. Pick up the bag and read the botanical name on the back, Cyperus esculentus. It is the exact same plant. The weed you poison in your yard is the superfood you pay premium prices to consume. This is not an accident. This is the story of how one of humanity's oldest cultivated crops became public enemy number one. Welcome to Verdant Wisdom. If you are ready to stop poisoning your lawn and start harvesting it, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Your worst weed might be your best crop. This plant has 3 names, and each one tells a different story. The ancient Egyptians knew it thousands of years before the pyramids cast their first shadows. Archaeologists excavating pre-dynastic burial sites dating back to 4000 BC found these small tubers carefully placed in tombs. But these were not merely symbolic offerings to accompany the dead into the afterlife. When researchers examined the stomach contents of mummies, they found the remains of these tubers. The ancient Egyptians were eating them daily. The plant thrived in the unique conditions of the Nile Delta, where it tolerated the wet and dry cycles that killed other crops. It was portable, storable, and energy-dense. Workers building monuments carried them as trail food. Travelers packed them for long journeys. For a civilization that created one of the most sophisticated agricultural systems in the ancient world, this humble tuber was a cornerstone crop. Fast forward to medieval Spain. When the Moors arrived in the 8th century, they brought the Chufa with them to the Valencia region. The Spanish climate proved ideal, and over centuries, they developed a distinct cultivated variety with larger, sweeter tubers. They created a traditional drink called horchata de Chufa, a creamy, refreshing beverage made by soaking the tubers, blending them with water, and straining out the pulp. To this day, Valencia maintains commercial Chufa farms with a protected denomination of origin. In Spain, this is not a weed. It is agricultural heritage. But something went catastrophically wrong when this plant met American suburbia. In the decades following World War II, the American lawn became a symbol of prosperity and social status. Millions of returning veterans moved to newly built suburbs, and with them came an obsession with the perfect carpet of green grass. This created a golden opportunity for the chemical industry. Companies that had produced explosives and poison gas during the war needed peacetime products. They turned their attention to your yard. They needed to create categories of plants that homeowners would fear. The word weed became a marketing term as much as a botanical one. And the Chufa, with its triangular stem that broke mower blades and its aggressive spreading habit, became a prime target. The very trait that made it successful as a crop, its ability to reproduce from underground tubers, was rebranded as an invasion. Billion-dollar industries were built on a single premise: this plant must be destroyed. But why did American agriculture reject it entirely? Why didn't farmers harvest it instead of homeowners poisoning it? The answer lies in the limitations of industrial mechanization. Modern farming is designed around crops that can be harvested by massive machines in a single pass. Wheat, corn, and soybeans fit this model perfectly. The Chufa does not. The tubers are small, ranging from the size of a pea to a marble. They grow 4 to 8 inches underground in unpredictable clusters. Harvesting them requires digging, sifting soil, washing, and careful sorting. There is no combine harvester designed for this work. It is labor-intensive in an era when American agriculture eliminated labor at all costs. Furthermore, the American market had no familiarity with the crop. You cannot sell what consumers do not recognize. So industrial agriculture made a calculated decision. It was more efficient to categorize the Chufa as a pest than to figure out how to profit from it. Yet the plant itself is a nutritional powerhouse that puts many cultivated crops to shame. When you examine the dried tubers, you find they are 30 to 40% oil by weight. But this is not just any oil. It is predominantly oleic acid, the same monounsaturated fat that makes olive oil famous for heart health. The remaining composition is roughly 25% starch, but not ordinary starch. A significant portion is resistant starch, which functions as prebiotic fiber. This means it passes through your digestive system intact and feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut. The mineral profile is equally impressive. A single ounce of tiger nuts provides substantial amounts of magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, iron, and zinc. They are also rich in vitamin E, a powerful antioxidant that protects your cells from oxidative damage. But perhaps the most remarkable feature is what they lack. Despite the name tiger nut, these are not nuts at all. They are tubers. This means they are completely free of tree nut allergens, gluten, and grains. For people navigating the minefield of modern food allergies, this is a rare gift. Traditional medicine systems across 3 continents have used Chufa for digestive health, and modern science is beginning to understand why. When you compare the cost, the absurdity becomes even sharper. You can pay $15 per pound at a health food store, or you can harvest it for free from your yard. So what do they taste like? If you bite into a raw, dried tuber, the first thing you notice is the crunch. The texture is firm and slightly fibrous, but as you chew, a subtle sweetness emerges. The flavor is nutty, somewhere between coconut and almond, with a clean finish. If you soak them overnight, the texture transforms. They become softer and creamier, and the sweetness intensifies. You can also dry and grind the tubers into flour for gluten-free baking, where they add moisture, sweetness, and a dense nutrition profile. Roasted and lightly salted, they become an addictive snack. The plant looks unimpressive, wrinkled and small, but the flavor defies appearance. So how do you grow it? First, understand the climate. Chufa thrives in USDA hardiness zones 8 through 11, where warm temperatures and long growing seasons let the tubers develop fully. It loves full sun and consistent moisture, and it tolerates nearly any soil type from sandy loam to heavy clay. This adaptability is exactly why it spread so successfully. But here is the critical warning you must heed. Do not plant Chufa directly in an open garden bed unless you are prepared for it to take over your entire yard. This plant spreads aggressively through underground rhizomes and tubers. Every small piece left in the soil will sprout a new plant the following year. If you live in a warm climate, it can become genuinely invasive. The responsible approach is to grow it in containers or in raised beds with solid bottoms that prevent underground escape. Large plastic pots, half whiskey barrels, or stock tanks work perfectly. You can also use buried barriers like pond liner to contain the roots, but this requires careful installation. Before you plant, check your local invasive species regulations. Some states restrict or prohibit cultivation. Never plant Chufa near wild areas, waterways, or natural ecosystems. The irony is this: the plant is easier to manage when you are actively harvesting it every year. To begin, source your tubers from online heirloom seed suppliers, or purchase organic tiger nuts from a health food store. Make certain they are untreated and viable. Plant them after your last frost date, when soil temperatures are consistently above 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Bury each tuber 1 to 2 inches deep and space them 6 inches apart. If you are using a container, choose one at least 18 inches deep to accommodate root growth. Water consistently to keep the soil moist, but not waterlogged. Within 1 to 2 weeks, you will see green shoots emerging. The plant grows into a grass-like sedge, not a true grass, with triangular stems and a fountain-like growth habit reaching 2 to 3 feet tall. It requires minimal fertilizer and has virtually no pest problems. Deer and rabbits ignore it. The small, insignificant flowers appear in late summer, but you are not growing this for blooms. The harvest window arrives 120 to 150 days after planting, or after the first frost kills the foliage back. When the leaves begin to yellow and die, it is time. If you plant it in containers, the process is simple. Tip the container and dump the contents onto a tarp. If you plant it in a raised bed, dig carefully with a garden fork, working through the soil like you are panning for gold. The tubers sit 4 to 8 inches below the surface in loose clusters. Sift the soil with your hands, collecting every tuber you find. A single plant can produce anywhere from 20 tubers to several hundred, depending on growing conditions. This variability is one reason commercial agriculture struggled with standardization. Rinse the tubers thoroughly to remove all soil. Now you face a decision. Use them fresh or dry them for storage. For drying, spread the tubers in a single layer in a warm, dry location with good airflow. Over 2 to 4 weeks, they will shrink and wrinkle, becoming hard and shelf-stable. Store the dried tubers in an airtight container in a cool, dark place, and they will last for months or even years. When you want to use them, soak them overnight in water to rehydrate. The thin skin is technically edible, though some people prefer to peel it after soaking. Unlike beans, there is no cooking requirement. You can eat them raw or soaked. There are no toxins to neutralize. But here is the economic reality that should make you pause. Every year, Americans spend billions of dollars on herbicides specifically formulated to kill nutsedge. A single bottle of selective herbicide costs $20 to $30 and treats only a fraction of an acre. Most lawns require multiple applications per season, driving the annual cost to $100 or more per property. Multiply that across millions of suburban yards, and you see an industry built on manufactured fear. The active ingredients in these herbicides, compounds like halosulfuron and sulfentrazone, do not stay where you spray them. They leach into groundwater, run off into streams, and affect non-target plant species. Meanwhile, the health food industry sells the exact same plant for $8 to $18 per pound. You are paying to destroy what others are paying premium prices to consume. The chemical dependency cycle continues because we have been trained to see this plant as an enemy rather than an asset. This is a failure of perception, not botany. The label weed is cultural programming. It has no scientific meaning. A weed is simply a plant growing where a human does not want it. For 3 generations, we have been taught to fear the Chufa, to reach for poison at the first sight of its triangular stem. But the ancient Egyptians, who built a civilization that lasted 3,000 years, saw it as sustenance. The Spanish, who cultivated it for over a millennium, see it as cultural treasure. What if we stopped manicuring sterile monoculture lawns and started harvesting them? What if the solution to your nutsedge problem is not another round of chemicals, but a bucket and a sieve? The Chufa represents our profound disconnection from the origins of food. We have forgotten that the line between crop and weed is drawn by human choice, not natural law. Every time you choose to harvest instead of poison, you reclaim a small piece of sovereignty. You step outside the system that profits from your ignorance. The ultimate irony is this: the solution to your problem is to eat it. If you enjoyed uncovering the lost crops hiding in plain sight, remember to like and subscribe to Verdant Wisdom. Stop poisoning. Start harvesting. We will see you in the garden, or maybe in your lawn.